Let me ask you a question about the incels. Do you think the incels, do you care about the loneliness of the incel?
I think that male loneliness is a massive problem.
Okay, so
I think non-peace getting male lonelies are deteriorating society. Yes,
how
I think
do
it is
we
a
fix
massive
it?
problem.
What do you think the fix is?
One, I think we should legalize prostitution.
Okay.
I have been standing on this for decades, and I think that prostitution should be legalized.
Okay.
They will never do this, but that I think would be a massive solve.
Massive solve. Okay.
One.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Ask follow-ups.
No. Follow-up is what, because that's a temporary loneliness fix, although it's effective.
Look at Joy Taylor's face here. Temporary is doing some serious heavy lifting. Regardless, incel culture is sadly growing in this country. On the topic of what Taylor stated.
How do you define sex work, a sex worker?
Well, first, we don't use the term sex work. We don't believe that prostitution is either sex nor work.
So sex work is a broad umbrella term that includes many different forms of erotic labor. So prostitution, of course, is the one that is most discussed and is criminalized, but it also includes legal forms of erotic labor, dancing, camming, whether people want to identify as a sex worker or identify as a survivor or a victim, that to me is something that's only that person can define for themselves.
It's controversial, to say the least. In fact, buying sex and selling sex has been illegal in all 50 states, with some exceptions in Nevada, until now. In October, the state of Maine enacted the first law in the country to partially decriminalize sex work, meaning selling sex is no longer a crime. Buying sex is.
What Taylor discussed even has the endorsement of New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She tweeted, and I quote, "Sex work is work," when this story broke. The New York Post, owned by Rupert Murdoch, would dox a New York City paramedic because she was on OnlyFans while also serving a third job as a hostess at a restaurant. She admitted she did it to make ends meet. Quote, "At the end of the day, it does not affect how I treat people. What I do in my free time is my business. It has no effect on how I care for my patients," she stated to the outlet. Sadly, it turned into a humongous story and showed not only the reach, but the power of the right wing in media. Via the ACLU, they give 5 key reasons on why sex work should be legalized in all 50 states in this country. Of course, many of these would go against exploitation, the prison industrial complex, and capitalism, to name a few. Would it help male loneliness? Let's hear from Taylor once more.
What would be a long-term fix to bringing people back together? What do you think?
Okay. So while it's a temporary fix, right? And many people will have some retorts to this, of course. It's not a simple solve. Mm-hmm. But I believe that straight male biology, and particularly men who have this sort of anger, is because they don't get physical intimacy, right? But they have convinced themselves the type of physical intimacy they would like is, their favorite porn star or favorite OnlyFans girl or this unattainable beauty on Instagram who is never, ever, ever, ever going to fuck you or meet you or talk to you ever. Mm-hmm. So they don't look for the physical intimacy that is around them. They don't go outside of their home. I think intimacy is a big problem. I think men not having sex is a big problem.
But this is my
and the confidence that comes from not having physical intimacy, not having the ability to have sex, turns them into these raging psychopaths that then blame feminism and women running for presidents as the reason why society is deteriorating. And then they go out and vote as such in favor of trillionaires who wouldn't give a fuck if they had their last breath halfway through this podcast.
So can sex work and the legalization of prostitution possibly help incel culture? To that I say maybe. I do think that it could. I don't necessarily buy temporary. I think there are, like everything, positives and negatives. My opinion on all of this is simply that it should be legalized. It should be legalized and regulated. There are so many things going against it. like, as stated previously, the prison industrial complex, exploitation, police reaching quotas, taking advantage of workers, etc. And shockingly enough, a video that we did, I believe about 2 weeks to a month ago, a woman was arrested for alleged grand theft auto, and a cop, after she said she wanted to get with him, had to call for backup because he was arrested in the back seat of his police cruiser, which I think everybody should go and look at. So I guess it only works for some and not for everybody. Regardless, what I think the problem is, if we're really breaking it down, again, taking what I said about good and bad things, the internet is and can be a good and healthy place. The issue at hand is that you have a board, and a board wants to rake in as much profit as possible. And as the saying goes, and what I'm about is people over profits. The board is profits over people. Republicanism is profits over people. A section of Democrats are profits over people. And what they want to do is keep everybody on those algorithms for as long as they can possibly stay, because your attention, your eyeballs are their currency. That board is dependent on it. So what do? They want to push out extreme to some degrees, thought-provoking in a negative way to keep you stuck in a certain spot and affecting your psyche. There have been studies on this as well from major institutions that have shown this. The power of alpha male content and that sort of stuff is alarming. Alarming. Teachers are being mistreated as boys are quoting Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, who is supposed to be this king alpha male, king dog of men and the manosphere, alleged human trafficker. He allegedly essayed an underage woman, and countless other allegations going against him. But what we have seen is all of these algorithms, including TikTok, will play into this because the algorithm is so smart, and a guy is going to watch something Andrew Tate related or a manosphere content related, and it keeps going. And it keeps going in front of them over and over and over and over again. This is how the algorithms are built. And then what goes into that? Well, I'm a dude. I'm watching this content. I'm 20-something. And then they develop a mindset. The problem is women. That's their problem. They just don't know me. When really, it is a failure of looking inward. And as someone who has been in therapy, it is about seeing how imperfect you are, but really we all have problems and we're just trying to get by. And there is a way to do it. It is having an outlet. It is being vulnerable. It is seeing our past indiscretions, our past transgressions, making mistakes, and learning. And I do think if they made therapy free in this country, and to be very clear, the government pays for it. I'm not saying therapists work for free. That's insane. The government pays for it instead of giving billions of dollars to Halliburton and Lockheed Martin. I think we would be in a better place. And I think the algorithms would also need a complete overhaul, because the amount of people, and in this case men and young boys, that we are losing to this mindset is a humongous problem. It's not only what swayed the election, but it is also what will take us back to eroding women's rights. Because as much as Elon likes to talk about the woke mind virus, this virus, even bigger. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.